Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're taking some incredibly deep insights on human behavior and turning them into a structured guide to help you finally break free from procrastination and that nagging feeling of being unfulfilled. We're going to break down author and mindset expert Rob Dial's strategies for overcoming those stubborn internal blockers that keep us stuck. Seriously, if you've ever felt like you're holding yourself back, but you just couldn't pinpoint exactly why, this is going to be a real game changer for you. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this with a pretty extreme scenario. If I asked you right now, what is the realistic chance of you making $1 million this year? You'd probably say 0, right? I mean, maybe 1% if you're feeling wildly optimistic today. But let's flip the script. What if the lives of absolutely everyone you loved depended entirely on you hitting that exact same financial goal? Think about it. How would your daily actions change? You sure wouldn't be endlessly scrolling on your phone. You wouldn't hit snooze. You would wake up and take immediate massive action.
And this brilliantly illustrates our very first breakthrough. The goal didn't change at all, and the timeline didn't change either. Literally, the only thing that changed was the compelling reason behind it. Your lack of progress in life isn't an issue of laziness. It's an issue of what's truly driving you. We're so quick to label ourselves as lazy when we procrastinate, but laziness, it's just a symptom. It's not the root cause.
Which brings us right to Section 1, the myth of laziness.
To figure out what's actually stopping you, we have to look at Section 2, primal versus intellectual fear.
You see, most of us rarely face primal fear anymore. We're not dealing with the immediate threat of pain or death like being chased down by a predator. Instead, we're dealing with intellectual fear. We basically create this invisible boogeyman every single morning. It's the fear of failure, the fear of judgment, the fear of not being accepted by our peers. Think about having a nightmare where a lion is chasing you. You wake up sweating, your heart is absolutely pounding, and your body is in full fight or flight mode. But you are perfectly safe in bed. Your body literally cannot tell the difference between a real physical threat and a made-up intellectual fear in your mind. We are paralyzing ourselves with complete illusions.
So, here is the crucial takeaway. Since this fear only exists in our minds, we possess the incredible power to actively project a positive future instead. Our brains are ridiculously skilled at projecting the worst-case scenario. But listen, if you have the imagination to invent a terrifying outcome that hasn't even happened yet, you have the exact same capacity to imagine a phenomenal one. You can actually overcome these paralyzing mental projections by applying a simple 3-step framework whenever anxiety hits. First up is awareness. You have to actually catch yourself in that state of intellectual fear. Second is practice. Interrupt the pattern. Pause, take some deep breaths to calm your nervous system down, and actively ask yourself, what is the best thing that could happen? And third, repetition. You have to do this over and over again. You are literally rewiring your brain's default pathways from panic to possibility. Give yourself some grace here, but stay consistent with it. But to conquer that fear long-term, you're going to need some serious fuel. That's Section 3, the power of why.
We live in a society that is completely obsessed with motivation. But relying on motivation, it will absolutely fail you. Motivation is that feeling you get from listening to an upbeat song or a really inspiring talk, and it disappears the second you hit a roadblock. What you actually need is drive. Drive is deeply rooted. It's this internal fire that makes you totally unstoppable, regardless of how you happen to feel on any given Tuesday morning. So how do you find that drive? Well, you use a technique called the 7 levels of why. Rob Dial actually used this with a client who started with a pretty surface-level goal. I want to make $100,000. When Rob asked why, the client's first answer was just, I've never done it. But by continuously asking why 7 times, they drilled way down past the superficial stuff. By the 7th why, the real truth came out. The client wanted to gain custody of his children and move them out of a dangerous neighborhood where he legitimately feared for their lives. Boom! Suddenly, it's not about an arbitrary financial number anymore. It's about the safety of his kids. Now that is drive.
Rob Dial actually found his own unbreakable drive during a moment of intense fear and doubt early on in his career. He was right on the verge of quitting and going back to his safe job. Right at that moment, his sister showed him a letter written years ago by his late father from a jail cell. The final line of that letter simply read, "Live your life with courage, love, and laughter." Rob realized right then and there that his greatest, most primal fear wasn't failing in business. His absolute biggest fear was reaching the end of his life without ever truly trying. He committed fully on the spot. As we peel back even more layers on breaking our internal blockers, we arrive at Section 4. You are not your thoughts.
Actor Jim Carrey actually realized his entire identity was an illusion after a deeply intense method acting experience. He stayed in character as comedian Andy Kaufman for months, to the point where he totally lost track of his own beliefs, his own preferences, his entire personality. When filming ended, he had this massive awakening, which is summarized perfectly in this quote. He realized that Jim Carrey was literally just a character he had been playing. This proves such a vital point for us. You are not permanently tied to your limiting self-beliefs, the version of you that is anxious or fearful or feeling stuck. It's just a character you've been playing on repeat.
Just think about the sheer repetition of our inner dialogue. 90% of the thoughts you have today are the exact same thoughts you had yesterday. 90%. Really let the gravity of that sink in. Almost all of your anxieties, your doubts, and your fears, they aren't reflections of some dangerous reality. They are just recycled mental habits. They're a familiar, almost comfortable loop of intellectual fear.
So how do we break out of this loop? You practice detachment. Imagine you're sitting way up on the edge of a mountain in complete silence, just looking down at a busy highway. Your thoughts are just the cars driving by below. Your only job is to watch the cars pass. When that bright red car of anxiety or self-doubt drives by, you don't have to chase it down, yank open the door, and jump inside it. You simply observe it. Sitting in silence like this allows you to evaluate your thoughts and calmly ask, is this thought actually helping me move in the direction I want my life to go?
And please remember this fundamental rule. You cannot control your first thought. A sudden flash of judgment, a spike of fear, a quick pang of self-doubt. Those are going to happen. They are automatic. You don't have to somehow banish fear entirely. You just have to consciously intercept it and choose a better, far more helpful second thought immediately after. The first thought is just old programming, but that second thought, that's where your power lives.
Which leads us directly into our final and honestly most empowering behavioral shift. Section 5. The CEO of your life.
Everything is your fault. Wow. It sounds incredibly abrasive, doesn't it? It probably even triggers a little bit of defensiveness right out of the gate. But accepting the full weight of this phrase is absolutely key to escaping the victim mentality and unlocking your ultimate freedom.
Think about it like this. If a massive, multinational company succeeds with all its moving parts and thousands of employees, who gets the ultimate credit? It's the CEO's fault. But if that exact same business completely fails, whose fault is it then? It is still the CEO's fault. They orchestrate the outcome. You have to start looking at your own existence through that exact same lens. You must take radical responsibility for the business of your own life, the whole shebang.
Now, hold on, let's add some really important nuance to this, because taking responsibility does not mean validating terrible things that were done to you. It is absolutely not your fault if you experienced childhood trauma or inherited painful circumstances or were deeply wronged by someone else in the past. But as the CEO of your life, today, right now, it is 100% your responsibility to heal and work through that pain. Nobody else is coming to save you. You are the only executive capable of turning the ship around.
So I want to leave you with this final, critical question to reflect on. If you arrive at the very end of your life and it isn't what you wanted, if you didn't experience the love or the joy or the success you dreamed of, whose fault will it be? If you don't step up, take ownership, identify your deepest why, and become the CEO of your life right now, who will you blame when the clock finally runs out? It's time to take the wheel.